I came up to Pebble Beach in spring/summer of 2005 after I got out of rehab out of Spencer in Laguna Beach. It's a very expensive place to go. I was there for 30 days. And although when I had been in the position of basically hitting rock bottom and going into rehab for opiates, now I was using everything, but it was pretty clear from my past drug use, which was extensive. This was a different beast altogether for me. I'd never really had a problem ultimately climbing up any hill of drug addiction. I had been addicted. I had been an alcoholic. Yet I had eventually tackled those successfully. Game's over. I win. I walked away. This was one where not only was I not winning, but I was faced with essentially losing everything, and I had everything. And had everyone telling me that. And I kept repeatedly failing. And that was really a, no pun intended, sobering thing to experience. It probably in retrospect altered my life because of to be honest with you, at that time, the understanding that you don't have control over shit. Now that's not true. But I had never really, when I put my mind to it and worked hard, that theory was kind of true with me. It was hard to get the motivation to do anything. But here I had all the motivation to do that. And I essentially felt like I had it wasn't my decision, although it appeared that way to everyone else, which was part of the problem. It's one of the sick natures of serious drug addiction where, again, I look back at it and I'm like, it's very difficult for me to assess all of that. I mean, I had access to drugs on a level that it never occurred to me except being out of Los Angeles. And then basically what I'm saying is not the city per se as much as out of my hometown, where, I mean, repeatedly, I will tell a watered down, sugar-coated scenario in an NA meeting or an AA meeting or just to some friends, and it never occurs to me. No one believes me. And I'm not even telling a story that I think is that far-fetched. And I'll have many incidents that I guess I could try to put a happy ending on and say, I wonder if they saw something there and they finally knew what was going on with me. And it creates almost more destructive behavior, but on a different level. It really depends on your perspective, man. It's like I've constantly mentioned how if you're going to trash me and bash me for drug use or my past drug use, I have no problem with that. I do that. I teach people all the time or taunt people all the time for shit that they've done wrong. At the same time, I do realize I'm saying, I'm talking to a person who's a fucking pro at that. Not destroying lives. Okay? Not stealing or murdering. I'm really not that, that's something I'm not that good at. Don't really want to get involved in that. I'm familiar with that world. I don't want to get involved in that. But what I'm saying is, I know my shit. I knew what other people were getting. I knew what the market was like. I could see what they were doing. I didn't understand that it wasn't until later I got out of LA. This is why I moved out of LA. I was not going to stay out of LA permanently. But you can see the scenario, which is bizarre. 2 major car accidents just before I was supposed to go back to LA, which frightened the hell out of my fiance so much. She said, it's done. It's over with. She snapped, even though they were not drug-related accidents. I crashed a car into a dealership and then into a tree. Just totally clean. I can't explain it. They can't explain it. Later on, we maybe explained it as being post-sober seizures. In fact, we're pretty sure that's exactly what happened. Because it was literally that big of a deal for me to get off. That much, cocaine, drinking a quart of rum every night, working 18-hour days, and taking over 100 Vicodin extra strength a day. People say that's bullshit. Well, then again, I hesitate to bring it up because you think I'm bragging. I'm not bragging. when I was on Oprah, I wasn't on Oprah Winfrey to talk about drugs. The book was about drugs. The heart of the matter was that book got torn apart a million little pieces because they said it wasn't realistic. They didn't just say, "Oh, we think he's lying." It got brought into question because they didn't believe that the scenarios expressed in that book could be non-fiction. And I swear on the Bible, Quran, and the Torah that my ex, God bless her soul, calling me up and saying, "You've got to read this book." 2 months before James Frey went on Oprah. And telling me, "You won't believe what this guy says because it's exactly every word you said." And that book's a bestseller in the U.S. And then they tried to say he's lying. I didn't, honestly, when I was told by my controller at that point, which was my ex, "You need to write one of your letters," I knew exactly what she fucking meant by that. And I did. And within 2 hours, I got a phone call telling me I'm going to be on that show tomorrow morning. Fly out here immediately. And I said, "Not unless she's coming. Not unless she can go." And they reluctantly agreed. Now, they've cut my part out of that show, but that's kind of awesome. That's kind of awesome because so many people, including the people at my work, where I didn't want anyone to know about that because I had to have FBI background clearances and this and that. I mean, I got called in and basically told, "We would not have hired you. We would not have hired you had we known that." And they found it on YouTube and played it for everyone at the airport. And people coming into the airport recognized me from that show. It was the second most watched show besides the Tom Cruise show. They won't remember me nowadays. And it's been brilliantly removed from her archival, which is a very elaborate website, archival site, which does not surprise me. She just confirms things. And if you're going to, condemn me for my past or even my present, condemn me for the future, that's fine. But you've got to give credit where credit is due. I'm going to give the same metaphor I gave before. The IBM hacker, one of the first big computer hackers of all time, didn't even have laws against hacking when it happened. This is in the 80s. So they just put him in prison. Someone got him out of prison and gave him $1 million job. Do you know who? IBM. IBM hired him as their head security guy. Totally Goodwill Hunting scene where they went into court and said, "I tell you what, can you not put him in prison? Give him to us and we'll guarantee you he won't be a problem." And IBM, I think, got sold since then, but they don't have very many hacking problems anymore, do they? That's smart. That's real world smart. Most of you don't do that. Because there's not many things that I have master's degrees in. And like paid my way through college, you know what I mean? So even if it's something corny, like I tell you, millennials, that Molly shit is not MDMA as we know it. Don't lecture me on telling me it is. I'm not saying they're not calling it MDMA. I don't know. Maybe we didn't get MDMA. What I'm telling you is it's poison. Maybe not for you. Maybe it's something different for you. But I'm telling you that is not what for 20 years and used to be legal in health food shops we called ecstasy. It's nothing like it. And I think you should know that, since I know a lot of people who are kind of like, "I don't drink, but I'll do Molly on occasion." And I'm like, whoa, you can do a line of Coke right now for me, and I'll snip it in a second in front of a cop. But I will not. That Molly is garbage. And they're telling you that's pure MDMA? Dude, you guys got to get street smart with that. And that's what I'm saying. That's where I get angry. Is they'll trash you and they'll bash you. They'll admit they use stuff when they shouldn't be. You know what I mean? The people who are always so critical of it not only use drugs, but they shouldn't be. They're using drugs to get high, dude. My generation really didn't use drugs to get high. We used drugs to get by. I remember how upset people would get. I saw Cat Williams do a comedy skit about that. He was actually trying to trash the Illuminati. He's like, in Hollywood, they'll do cocaine right in front of you. Like, you talk about the movie, and people were laughing. I'm like, that's not a big deal at all. Why is that a negative thing? But you want to do it hiding. You think we're ignorant? No. No, if you got a problem with that, I understand that. But you will get to the point to where eventually all is shown and all is known all the time because you just are like that. But we would have people at our parties that, girls would show up and they wouldn't believe that we would like not smoke weed in front of people. See, that's acceptable. But I do a line of cocaine in front of everybody. In straight edgers, you name it. There was a whole mix of people there. If you can't get along with sober people, then you got a problem also. I remember turning to this girl who seemed to be in shock and I said, if I need to use drugs to solve my problems, I have a much bigger problem than just drugs. And she's like, yeah, you do. I'm like, you're not understanding me. I mean, I literally just turned to her. She was a stranger. Because I know what they think. And I said, if I need this to solve my problems, then my problem is bigger than just a fucking drug problem. You see my point? That's why it's so casual for people. I'm up here. I got nothing to live for. I'm going to, my post-sobriety was in some ways different, but just as bad as the whole, kicking and as a doctor said to me brilliantly, and it's a terrifying statement, but I'll give it to you. And a doctor told me this because they monitored me. They knew how much I was taking. So when people tell me in the NA meetings, you're lying, 100 extra strength Vicodin would kill any single person on the planet. They're right. The doctors monitored and studied this. And again, people will say, bullshit. Okay, again, if I don't say something, then I get nagged by not saying something. When I do say something, you call me a fucking liar, and then you challenge me to it. And then when I prove it to you, I'm bragging. They called it a paradoxical reaction, which I realized I had in a lot of things. He has an opposite reaction than most people do to many things. The way he reacts when he gets angry or doesn't get angry. He's passive here, where most people would snap. Most people would flip out. And then other times, he aggressively comes after people when they try to sugarcoat it and bullshit him. And I'm pretty accurate most of the time. They can't figure out how he knows that. You're supposed to react to how I'm reacting. How do you know I'm the wolf in sheep's clothing? Is basically their reaction. It's one of the, it's like the Richard Snowden reaction. He's a criminal. Let's not pay attention to the fact that we're breaking the law. Let's chase the traitor. They get really pissed off because they don't understand how you know that shit. I've told you how I know that shit. I'm up here for a year and a half. I'm working at the airport. I'm basically working all the time because they're married. They have kids. I don't have a life. I've considered my life done with. I'm just living and making a paycheck. I'm buying remote control toys on eBay. Trying to find some way, just basically whatever. I got a new place, doing everything they told me was happiness. But I didn't really know anyone up here. My friend Peter takes me out and says, you want to go out and get some drinks with the guys from work? And they're pretty straight edge. And we end up going to a club in downtown Monterey. Now, Monterey is actually very racially, pretty cool. I mean, I would almost say there's more racism in LA and everyone lives together there than up here, where people really aren't racist, but it seems a little more separate. There's the white neighborhood. It's not as mixed as in LA. So down there you think it's racism, but it's really just anger and people bring up the first thing they think is going to get at you. So, in LA, you won't be racist and someone might say the N-word to a black guy just because I couldn't think of anything else. And he's married to a black woman and donates all his money to charities at the First AME Church. I mean, it's hard to explain that, but in LA, you know that. And yeah, if anything, I'm boasting about the city you want to trash. And there's a reason for that. That's why we make movies that make the aliens always destroy Los Angeles first. And you can cheer at that. We know you'd like to see that. When New York gets destroyed, you don't like that. When LA gets destroyed and the hippies are dancing on the roof, that's what we deserve. Okay, we know that. And it's bullshit. It's bullshit. 90210 is bullshit. More so, actually. That whole idea you guys all have out there. So I go out, and I'm Mr. 2 beer drinks. Not only that, I decide, man, this is like it was when I was in LA. I miss LA. It's been a year and a half. As the doctor said, you wish you did. You're going to feel like you did die. Or you're dying when you're taking opiates. Is that this amount that you're taking? So high that they would write me prescriptions for 300 Norcos for 3 days, 5 days. Why? To avoid cardiac arrest and withdrawal. And that's why I went to the hospital and to the doctors to tell them this. It was all kind of underground at the time. Suboxone was not even legal in the U.S. yet. And he says, you're going to feel like you're going to die. And once you're done, you'll wish you did. Probably one of the most accurate things ever said to me by anyone treating me for drug use and kicking opiates. And I even medically know why. Because, oh man, you feel like she's kicking alcohol. But opiates is the only one where there's actually a receptor in the human body for opium. Why would that be? That the human body actually has a receptor for opium. In fact, I was even told afterwards by heroin addicts, you would have been better off taking heroin. This is after they've kicked. I said, why? They said, because it's synthetic opiates. That's not really from the poppy plant. That's from the pharmaceutical companies. That's when I started learning about what was going on with that. And the truth about illegal drugs and the shit you're taking for fucking high blood pressure. And again, I'm not an expert on that one. But I have to admit, the guys that I knew that were on heroin didn't seem to struggle as much as they did when I was on Vicodin or when they were on Vicodin. Weird. The tolerance level goes up. I would throw them up because there was Epicac in it. So you guys are being told you're going to overdose on pills. Okay, Epicac is something they started putting in pills, sleeping pills, and even Vicodin in the 70s. Because everyone was getting their stomach pumped. Remember that? Or is that too nostalgic for you? So once this ingredient would build up in your stomach, it would force you or induce vomiting so that you could not die of an overdose of pills. The news tells you people do that shit every day. For me, it was the amount of acetaminophen I was taking. Should have destroyed my liver. In other words, I was taking the equivalent of 150 Tylenols a day. It wasn't the opiates in the Vicodin. I should have, that's suicide because your liver would be destroyed. And I was taking that for 4 years and drinking and doing coke and whatever else candy you might have for me. And functioning. Most of the protest wasn't because I was spending all my money or stealing or robbing. It was because they just didn't like me on drugs. It wasn't cool anymore. We're in our 30s. When are we going to have kids? It really did come down to that. But we could be using that money to do something better with our lives. That I'll give you that one. But I wasn't out there sucking dicks or killing people for drugs. And that, trust me, that's harsh, man. That's harsh living. I'm not. You don't hear me. I'll never yell at those people because you don't know. Switching lanes to the right. So I go out to this bar and I said, you know what? Fuck it. Not only am I going to drink tonight, I need to do some drugs. So I'm going to basically, have a relapse. I would consciously think about these things. Almost every single time I've used drugs since then, which has really helped my addiction problem, believe it or not, because I don't feel the pressure of the fiance telling me I can't do it. Why? Paradoxical reaction. It's a paradoxical reaction. And I'm not saying that this is an excuse. I'm saying it makes total sense. And I'm sure that medically I had proved it. Maybe not your kids. Maybe not my kids. Their kids. Your mama's daddy's kids. Wherever they are. But with me, we are